start off my reflection, I'm going to discuss different aspects of my video slideshow. After that, I will go into detail about my audio interview. For each product, I am going to discuss my story choice and preparation. I will then talk about my technical preparation and equipment choice. Then, I will talk about methods of production that are standard practice for the industry of journalism. Finally, I will evaluate what went well and how I can improve my work. For my video slideshow, I chose to cover a meeting that was held by climate activists on Sunday, the 13th of March in Hulme, Manchester. I learned about this meeting after I received a flyer the week before while I was walking down Oxford Road. I researched the organization mentioned on the flyer, which was Youth Climate Swarm. There is an email printed on the flyer, so I sent an email to that address and asked if I could attend the meeting and take pictures. They said yes, as is shown in this screenshot. When I got to the meeting on Sunday, I asked the climate change activists giving the talk again in person if they were okay with me taking pictures. They said yes. This was important for legal and ethical considerations because I wanted permission to take pictures during the meeting, and I also didn't want the presenters to feel uncomfortable as they were giving their talks. Still, I didn't include close-ups of anyone's face in the audience. I did, however, include a close-up of Jennifer Kowalski, since I talked to her at the meeting and she said she was okay with me taking her pictures. I also asked her for her contact details, which she gave me as well. According to the NUJ Code of Conduct, a journalist should obtain material by honest, straightforward, and open means. That's why it was so important for me to make sure Youth Climate Swarm was okay with me reporting on the meeting. Now, I'm going to discuss my technical preparation and equipment choice. All 6 of my pictures were edited with Adobe Photoshop and then uploaded onto Premiere Pro, where I added music and text for my 30-second video. You can see me editing the picture of Jennifer Kowalski in Adobe Photoshop here. I touched up on settings like exposure and contrast to make the photo more presentable in my slideshow. You could also see in this picture that I didn't put Jennifer as the center focus of the photo because I wanted to adhere to the rule of thirds. In hindsight, I could have done a better job cropping the picture to make it more exact to the rule of thirds. That is something I know I can improve on in the future. Next, I'm going to talk about my equipment choice. For my camera, I used the Canon 700D, which we learned how to use in class. The Broadcast Journalism Handbook by Hudson and Rowlands says that the power of pictures can never be underestimated. Using a digital SLR instead of just my iPhone gave me control over framing, focus, aperture, shutter speed, and ISO, which is the sensitivity to light. I practiced using 3 different modes on my camera: auto, aperture priority, and manual priority. Paying attention to these settings on a digital SLR is important for meeting industry standard methods of production. Aperture priority was the setting that worked the best inside the building where I photographed the Youth Climate Swarm meeting, so this is the one I mostly used. Now, I'm going to talk about my video editing technology, which was Adobe Premiere Pro. The first thing I did was to drag all my pictures onto the timeline in order. I made each picture last for 5 seconds to make a 30-second video. I changed the scale and position and added keyframes to each picture so that there was movement on the photos. Then, I went to my paper edit and copied and pasted the text onto my pictures. I changed the font, background, opacity, and size of my text to make it easier for viewers to read. The text on my paper edit was found through researching online sources about what was said in the Youth Climate Swarm meeting. The last 2 things I did for my video slideshow were adding music and transitions. The music I used was found on freemusicarchive.com. The video transitions I used were cross-dissolved, and I inserted the transition between each picture to make my video smoother. Using professional-sounding music that I legally and ethically downloaded and using clean transitions ensured that my video met industry standards. Now I'm going to talk about my audio interview. The Online Journalism Handbook by Paul Bradshaw recommends using interviews where the subject is a good speaker or whose voice is particularly expressive. For my story choice and preparation of my audio interview, I chose to interview Jashika Ray because she is an exchange student at MMU, and I can tell she was an articulate and expressive speaker. I structured my interview around her experiences in India, Italy, and the UK, and I did my best to make the interview conversational and smooth. The Broadcast Journalism Handbook by Hudson and Rowlands says that background sound is essential when you are on location. Otherwise, what is the point of being there rather than in the studio? For this reason, I was okay with the slight background noises of other students talking. Holding the interview on MMU's campus felt authentic to the content. Next, I'm going to discuss my technical preparation and equipment choice. I chose to record the interview using the Zoom H2 recorder. I edited the quality of the audio on Adobe Audition, and I used Premiere Pro to put the whole thing together. When I used the H2N, I wanted the level of the recording to be at a point where my interview's voice peaked between -12 and -6 on the screen. I adjusted the mic gain wheel on the side of my H2N and did practice recordings where I asked Jashika sample questions like what she ate for breakfast. This helped me to ensure that my audio quality met industry standards. I also was mindful of where I placed the recorder in relation to where me and Jashika were sitting. After I recorded the interview, I wrote an audio intro in a Word document for me to record. I wanted my intro to tell the listener who I was speaking to, why I was speaking to them, and what my story was. After I recorded the interview, I uploaded the intro and the rest of my interview onto Premiere Pro to make the audio exactly 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Now I'm going to evaluate what went well and how I can improve my work. For my audio interview, especially towards the end, I could hear my voice saying in between Jashika's statements. In the future, I need to focus on giving visual instead of verbal clues to let my interviewees know that I am engaged and interested. The little interjections of my voice in between Jashika's statements are distracting from her answers. I also think I can improve my audio quality in the future by becoming more familiar with interview etiquette as well as audio equipment, like the H2N recorder. Besides that, there are things that went well. I think that my interview was lively and conversational, and I think that my intro used clear, simple language to jumpstart the point of my interview.